I would also suggest, since we can't get out, there are plenty of gardens in the area still to visit. Take a trip over to Airlie. Enchanted Airlie is going on now. It, of course, is sold out, as it is every year. But during the day, the gardens are open and it gives you kind of a feel, and all the camellias are in bloom and it looks sensational. Also a trip to the Arboretum, which is all decked out in its winter finery. And if nothing else, it's a great way to get out and get some fresh air, since we spend so much time in the house. I took a drive around the forest last night, and people are decorated to the hilt. So no matter what you're celebrating for the holidays, if you go out and see what other people have done, I think you'll really lift your spirits and enjoy it. And maybe after today's lecture, you'll enjoy it even more. I am, and I know you are, really excited to have Brie Arthur with us today. We were hoping we would have Brie in person. That was our intention, but COVID got in the way. Brie is a got a degree in landscape architecture and horticulture from Purdue. She's written several books, including Foodscape Revolution. So she not only gardens with plants and trees and shrubs, she also gardens with those things that are going to keep us going during the COVID. She's president of the International Plant Propagation Society and is on the board of the North Carolina Botanic Garden Foundation. So she has a lot of credentials. And I also have it on a very good authority that she is a great speaker, having just spoken to a friend of mine in New Jersey who heard her at the Bronx Botanical Garden. So I think we are in for a real treat. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brie, and you'll share your screen.
Oh, awesome. Okay, is my screen is shared, right?
I'm sorry, Brie.
Do you see my screen?
Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect.
Can you all see Brie's screen? Yes, they're all nodding their heads. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, y'all, I don't know why I can't see your faces. I have multiple screens. So when you see my eyes go to the wrong side, that's because I'm looking at the chat. So any questions you have, I love to answer them in the moment because it makes it feel a little more like we're really together live and in person. So I have my chat pulled up, but for some reason I couldn't get it to show me your videos. So it's probably hidden behind some screen on here, but that's okay. So I'm really excited. This is the first time I've ever done this talk. And, you know, I think, were we scheduled for like March or something? Was this like one of the ones that was early on in the pandemic? And we thought, oh, by June, it'll be fine. You know? Do you remember those days when we thought that the pandemic was going to be over in a couple weeks? I remember those days. They feel very naive now, but you know, it gave us some hope at least. Hopefully by 2022, we'll all be back to hanging out together in person. But when I suggested that we do this topic, it was mostly because I've been helping my friend Erin Weston since she started her magnolia farm. I was her first elf in 2006. And I thought, well, you know, for December, I'm spending most of my days in this magnolia workshop. And I have some fun ideas to share with all of you that you can go out to your gardens or, you know, sneak into your neighbors' yards and gather some stuff up. So that's really the history behind this. I'm not actually Martha Stewart, but I love Martha Stewart and I take a lot of inspiration from her. So today is kind of not really my subject of expertise, but something that I'm excited about and like to share with others. So my name is Brie and I live in Fuquay. I've been in Fuquay now since 2006, but I moved to North Carolina full-time in 2002. So it's definitely my adopted home. I grew up in southeastern Michigan and moved here for climate. Certainly with a degree in horticulture, it's not that much fun to live in the Midwest because half the year you're in charge of snow removal. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to play with plants. And I've worn a number of hats in my 20 years in this industry. What brought me to North Carolina originally was working as an estate gardener at Montrose. And then I moved into plant production, working at Plant Delights Nursery, and most recently at Camellia Forest. So I've really kind of honed my specialty in rare plants, both perennials and trees and shrubs. But in 2014, I was given the opportunity to join the team of Growing a Greener World, the PBS program with Joe Lample, and feature my hobby as a home gardener, which was incorporating food in and amongst my landscape beds to be HOA approved, but still be able to vegetable garden. And so really since 2014, my hobby as a home gardener sort of superseded my career as a grower and propagator in the nursery business. And that led me to write a few books, and I've been traveling all across the United States and beyond for the last 6 years. So when COVID hit and everything was canceled, it really was a very abrupt change to my normal everyday. I have never in my life been home as much, but I have to say I got used to it pretty fast. And my cats seem to enjoy it. They have a very high maintenance schedule of coming in and out and in and out. So, but I mentioned that I've been elfing at Weston Farms. And if you're not familiar with Weston Farms, I'm going to share a lot of images of that. This is my friend Erin Weston's business based in Garner, North Carolina. And it really is an incredible story. It started, she had one magnolia tree, and she had actually been hired to work for Martha Stewart. And the day she got hired was actually the day Martha Stewart got arrested and ended up going to jail. So that job didn't come to fruition. And her uncle had recently passed away and left her this property in Garner. And so she thought, okay, I'm going to leave New York City for a couple of months. I'm going to deal with the estate, get things straightened out, and then, I'll be back on my merry way working in publishing. And boy, did she ever get sidetracked. She's been here now since 2004. And we met when I was working at Plant Delights, and she didn't know anything about horticulture, but, had been left this property. And from one magnolia tree, the winter of 2006, I was, working in the nursery business. If you didn't know this, it's not a great way to have financial security. So I was always having to do other things to pay my bills. And so I was like, well, I'll help you sell Christmas stuff at the state farmers market, on weekends. And that's what we did. We started making Christmas decorations basically with zip ties. And we made them to order at the market as people would come up and say, I want garland this long, and we would tie it together. An hour later we'd have it and they could pick it up. And I was so proud of her for building this business, which is incredible now. She actually sells to lots of celebrities, including the Rockefellers and Faith Hill and Tom Hanks and the guy that plays James Bond. He and his wife, they have been purchasing Weston Farms Christmas decorations for like the last 8 years. So it's pretty amazing. But, as a North Carolinian, you can pretty easily access this material and even take a trip up to Garner and pick it up from the workshop. We make a lot of cool things. This is under my TV. We don't have a fireplace in this house. So we have a fake mantle, and this is my Christmas decorations this year for under the TV, using the emerald lace garland, which is one of our standard garlands that we make at Weston Farms. It's a combination of a small leaf, really shiny green with a dark velvety backed leaf, and then green giant arborvitae is the conifer. All of this actually gets put on a really sturdy wire wire frame that's clamped with a machine. So, it doesn't fall apart. This is not what we used to make in the early days. This is all now really long lasting and well built. And then those magnolia flowers are actually the newest thing that Erin has created. She worked with a company called New Growth Designs, and she's created the first botanically accurate silk magnolia flowers. So those will last forever. Everything else that Erin sells is fresh, but these magnolia flowers, because magnolia flowers only last about 8 hours, so they are something that you can appreciate in May and June when they're blooming, but certainly wouldn't be around for the holidays. So this way you can have that beauty and really tie it all together. I, of course, added some cotton that I grew, and then some of the pine cones that I've been collecting from all over the world. Those are actually some pine cones that I gathered in Portugal, and then some large sugar cones that I got in California. I do ship pine cones home whenever I travel because I don't trust that the airline won't crush them. So but if you are interested, you can visit the Weston Farms website. It's Weston with an O, farms.com. And there's just all kinds of really beautiful options, everything from simple magnolia bouquets that you can deconstruct and add to vases, to really extensive garlands. And yesterday I made a 48-inch wide wreath, and it got shipped to Houston. Everything in Texas is bigger, apparently, even their front doors. Yeah, 48 inches. It was so incredibly heavy. But it was pretty extraordinary. And what I love about these magnolia wreaths is that they last for a really long time. So it isn't just like a 1 year wreath. Like, you can basically, when you order it, it comes in a really nice box. And at the end of the season, you just put it back in the box. I shove mine in the attic, and the box keeps it from getting dusty. And then, at Thanksgiving, I pull it back out. And this year I'm doing a silver linings theme for the holidays, because let's face it, it's 2020, and we need to look at all the silver linings because everyone has had disappointments this year. And so I spray painted mine silver. And, this took about like 8 minutes to do. It was really simple. I did make a YouTube video on this, but not going to share this one because you can see it yourself. I emailed you all the links so that you can watch these YouTubes, or you can just go to my YouTube channel, Brie the Plant Lady, Brie like the cheese, and watch these because they're available on there. But that's one of the things that I love with these wreaths. They're an investment. They're not $20. You can find cheaper wreaths places, but unlike a Fraser fir wreath that sheds as soon as it dries out, the magnolia persists. The thing that makes magnolia annoying in the landscape, the fact that the leaves don't ever decompose, is one of the reasons that magnolia is such a fabulous thing to use for holiday decorations, because it isn't just a 1 year item when you buy one of these wreaths. So this year I added silver poppies and different greens. I'm going to show you more pictures of those things. So moving on to some other ideas, especially looking at how you can grow things in your home garden for the purpose of using inside. This is my tree this year. It's not totally finished. I usually take about 3 weeks to decorate my Christmas tree. I like to do it in phases and, kind of stare at it at night and decide, what layer do I need to add? My goal this year was to not pull out any of the made in China stuff that I have acquired over the last 20 years. I wanted it to be entirely botanically inspired. We have a kitten. She's super cute. And actually, she doesn't seem to have a lot of interest in climbing the tree, but she's the only one that sleeps under the tree. I'm so happy. And if you see, those Tiffany boxes are actually from last year, and we're just recycling them. We're putting in all of our things of gratitude, and aspirations for next year, and dreams and wishes. And then on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, we'll kind of go through the boxes and reflect with gratitude. We're not doing gifts this year. But one of the boxes is open, and that's so that she can sleep in the box. And we discovered that, if you buy something from Tiffany's, the real gift is that you get to keep the box and reuse it over and over again. So I do have a video that I wanted to show you for anybody who has a fake tree. So we live in a small house. Our house is like 1,100 square feet. So we don't have a lot of room for a big wide tree. Like, I don't want to have to take out the furniture from the room. So we have a fake tree that fits perfectly. It's narrow and tall, and therefore it's a really good sort of base to be able to fill in, but it's really ugly and boring without adding some real stuff. Like you can see in this picture, the top quarter isn't filled in, and you see how dull it is. Versus the bottom 3/4 where I've started bringing in items from the garden. So let me just be tricky here. And there we go. Okay, I'm going to share my screen like this.
Hi everyone, I'm Brie the Plant Lady, and today I am decking the halls, or more specifically, I am trying to make my fake Christmas tree look more real by using fresh greenery right here from my home garden. So stay tuned for tricks and tips on how to make your fake tree look like a real one. I had originally planted this ABs with the intention of using it as a fresh cut Christmas tree. However, the year that it was the perfect size for our small family room, we were out of the country. So I've allowed it to continue to grow. It's clearly not the right place. This conifer can get 120 foot tall, and I have it about 5 foot off of my foundation landscape. I'm telling you this to advise you not to do what I have done. Instead, if you want to plant a large growing conifer, put it farther out along a property border so that it won't impact growing too close to your house. So until I decide what to do with this tree, I'm just going to keep harvesting it each season and using its boughs to put into my perfectly sized fake Christmas tree that is tall and skinny, unlike the natural growing shape of this Abies Nordmanniana. To achieve this look, I'm going to be using a number of conifers from my collection, including plants like this Abies Nordmanniana. I'll also be using Golden Rider Leyland Cypress and various varieties of Cryptomeria. One of the benefits of doing this is to actually offer some more space, because I like to plant things in a very crowded fashion. So I'm going to come in with some sharp pruners, and I'm going to cut off some of the branches that are crowding the other plants. This Cryptomeria is super ugly. It actually got struck by lightning in the summer and it lost its leader. I've been waiting to cut it down just so I could use whatever greenery it has to fill into the fake holiday tree. So this afternoon, the chainsaw is coming out, and this ugly tree is going to be removed for good. Now, the Golden Rider is my all-time favorite conifer to add to the Christmas tree. And the reason I like it is it's got really straight branches, and it's just this nice chartreuse color. Overall, I hate Leyland cypress. We had giant hedgerows of Leylands when we moved to this house, and over the years they've all fallen and had to be removed, cost us a fortune. I never recommend planting these, except I planted these two with the intention that I would prune them every single December to use as cuts for the holidays. So that's how I maintain the size. I actually cut the leader out intentionally. I'm growing these as large shrubs that I harvest from. And that is the sound of a Cryptomeria coming to the ground. Now, what am I gonna do with this entire wheelbarrow full of cut greens? Come on inside and I will show you. see, I have the tree about halfway dressed with the golden rider Leyland cypress. And it makes a world of difference adding this real material to the structure of the fake tree. Now you can see this room isn't very big. I don't want to have to get rid of any furniture because this is our family room. This is where we sit and hang out every night. But to have the glowing tree is always really special at this season. So I just have to really fill from here up with more golden Leyland, and then I'm going to use the cryptomeria and the ABs to scatter throughout to add an extra touch of unique charm in bringing the garden in. Then we'll add all of the different silver poppies, the hydrangeas, and I even spray painted some sesame stalks. I think this tree is going to look really special and unique.
Yeah, I don't know what to do.
Brie, we can't hear you.
Today I am decking.
Still can't hear you. We did for a minute.
Slowly. That was slowly. Can I unmute her? Okay. Send her a message in the chat.
She's on YouTube. Well, she lost
Yeah.
control. Okay. But possible. YouTube may have monitored the audio connection.
It looks like she's.
Bree, maybe if you exit and then rejoin as a last ditch effort.
Bria's suggestion would be to log out of Zoom and then re-log back in. Her.
She's down at the bottom.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, got her.
You can.
Yes, we can hear
Okay.
you now, Bree.
Oh my God. Okay, no more videos. You guys can watch them on your own. Okay, let me share my screen. How about that?
Still, yes.
Yes.
You can hear me and you can see. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, everybody. And I can see you this time. So that's kind of nice. Okay, so I was telling you about hydrangeas and why you should grow them. So hydrangea paniculatas are, the sun-loving upright varieties. Limelight is the most commonly grown. And they tend to dry on the bush, so it's really easy just to go out and clip what you need. And they look beautiful, natural and spray painted. Okay, there we go. I already told you a lot about Magnolia grandiflora, but it's definitely, for me, a holiday in the Southeast can't be without Magnolia. It's a native plant that, we should all be so fortunate to have access to. The varieties that Erin grows are really quite special. This variety is known as K. Paris. It was bred by a dear friend of mine, Kevin Paris, named for his mother. And this is a great plant because it has a smaller growing habit. So you can actually grow it, it's only going to get maybe 15 foot wide and 30 foot tall. So compared to some of the other varieties or seed grown varieties, this is a really nice compact variety to grow. Of course, poinsettias, like I have behind me, there's so many new varieties of poinsettias. The sky's the limit. If you haven't seen that far left, the small pink one, that's one called Princetia. And so this is a new intergeneric hybrid that has really enabled a broad spectrum of colors on a much more compact plant. So like they actually would fit on, a dining room table without taking over all of the space. Now, I mentioned that I was using sesame stalks, and I think sesame is a plant that everybody should try growing once. So this is a summer annual. It likes full sun. It loves heat and humidity. It's a native to India. It's really easy to grow. The birds love to eat the seeds, but you can collect the seeds and eat them or just save them to sow the next year. Now, one thing I'm going to tell you, I didn't do a great job getting all the seeds out of my pods before I spray painted them and then brought them into the house and filled the tree with them. And so there are sesame seeds all over my family room because the seeds are just falling out of the dried stalks. So be aware of that. Same thing with the poppies. These are really small seeds. So if you don't get all the seeds out, they will eventually go all over. And like every day when I vacuum, the Dyson is just full of sesame seeds. But this is what the sesame looks like during the growing season in the summer. It's really pretty. It kind of looks like a foxglove that blooms all summer. So, it's just really cool. Butterflies and Luna moths really like it. And actually, hummingbirds are one of the #1 pollinators for it. So I highly recommend it just for that. But then, you can allow the stalks to dry. I just let them stay up until we've had a frost. And then you dump the seeds out, ideally before you bring them inside. And then, you can just save them to use, or you can toast them and use them for cooking. A few years ago, like I made a whole bunch of baked goods and used the sesame and the poppy seeds because I wanted to share the garden with friends and family that way through cooking. Some of my favorite branches to spray paint because of the contorted habit is the Harry Lauder's walking stick, or the contorted filbert. This is actually a type of hazelnut. And I do like really hard pruning on mine because I put it just like in that video where I planted that ABs. I planted this ridiculously close to my house and it gets enormous. So I have to constantly prune it. So I wait to prune it usually until Thanksgiving weekend. And then everything that I've cut, I can then use. I use these in indoor and outdoor arrangements. I'll often put these into like container plantings just to make them look extra cool and sparkle, and then add some old ornaments that like plastic ornaments that can be outside, just to, make it have the extra holiday flash. Now, grains are a huge passion of mine. I wrote a book a year ago. I have to ship a million of these books out, so I actually have them sitting next to me. Gardening with grains. And one of the reasons that I state in the book is to grow them is, even if you don't want to, go to the effort of grinding this into flour and eating the grains yourself, like they're great to feed the birds. The birds will absolutely devour the grains. But then they're also really pretty to bring in for different holiday decorations. So this was our tree last year. When I had it filled with the whole topper was all grains. It was really, really extraordinary. I also included a lot of okra pods last year. This year I was a little pig and I ate all the okra and I didn't have any dried pods. I canned a lot of okra this year because of the pandemic. There's that last year's tree in its full glory. And you see the grains are just really pretty decorations, really at any time of the year. The main thing with the grains, you really need to dip them in bleach. And the reason for that is to kill the Indian meal moth. And again, I often share advice on what not to do because I do things wrong a lot. And so a couple years ago, when I first got into this, I didn't do that. And then we had an explosion of Indian meal moths, like thousands of them in our house. And they hang out right at the edge of where your wall meets your ceiling. And every day we would have to come along with the Dyson and vacuum that part of the wall to get them out. It was terrible. So it's really, really important when you're using grains, whether you buy them or grow them yourself, to just like dip them in a bucket of bleach for maybe 30 seconds to a minute and let them dry out. And that will kill any of the moth eggs. Really, really important. Okay. But I make really beautiful, like arrangements using wheat. In fact, I have that arrangement right there. And it's just so pretty. I made these a few years ago to give away to people as holiday presents. It's just a unique thing that not everybody has. So the 3 primary grains that I grow, you grow them now. You would seed these now. You would harvest in June. And then you would just store them, through the summer season to be able to use in the fall. These look really nice in like Halloween and Thanksgiving decorations as well. Barley, wheat, oats. You can also do rye, but barley, wheat, and oats are my 3 primary grains that I grow. And if you want to learn more about grains, you can you can watch a lot of videos on my YouTube channel about grains. But that's how it looks in the spring. This is wheat when it starts to turn amber, and it's just really a beautiful show. I'm a Midwestern native, so I feel really connected to cereal crops. It's not something that we grow traditionally in North Carolina. And this is my front border with barley. This was last spring. And we mix it with larkspur so that we can feed the pollinators, but the larkspur also keeps the deer and rabbits and groundhogs from eating everything else because larkspur is poisonous. And that's what the purple thing is. Now on to dried poppy pods. I think dried poppies are the prettiest thing in the whole world. And actually this is what I've been giving to all of my neighbors for holiday gifts this year. It's entirely homegrown. It's just a ball jar with some tumbled glass from IKEA and then silver poppies that they can use however they want. I think the poppies just look good painted any color. This was a few years ago when I did all metallics, and they looked really nice with the different liqueurs that we brought back from Portugal and Spain. And this year, everything is silver, as I mentioned. I was saying when I was muted that I didn't originally come up with this theme, but I was out in my shed and realized I didn't have any gold or bronze or red or green spray paint. And the virus is spreading so fast that I decided I was not going to Home Depot just for spray paint. So I just am using the color I have, and the color I have is silver. And so silver linings. And I think it looks really great. These are some of the different arrangements that I have throughout the house, and silver matches everything. And I have a full tutorial on exactly how easy this is to. That's like all the comments on YouTube are like, wow, thanks for showing me, even though I'm not crafty, that I could do this, because this does not take a lot of skill or a lot of time. Within like 5 minutes, you can actually create something like this. So it's not an all-day venture. But of course, this is what the poppies look like in the spring. And so there's a lot of reasons, I think, to cultivate poppies, because they're really easy. They actually are really great for improving your soil. So you can grow them like this en masse as a cover crop. They're really inexpensive to buy the seed. They can't be transplanted, so you have to grow them from seed. So you basically just scatter the seed directly in place wherever you would want them to grow. And I have a full tutorial on this that I did about 10 days ago. So you can watch that. The main key to growing poppies, you surface sow them and you do not cover them. So once you sow the seeds, don't walk in the bed, don't rake it, don't mulch it, just leave it alone. Poppies require light to germinate. So that's the main thing people do wrong when they grow poppies. It's actually very anticlimactic when you're sowing them, because it's like you just toss the seeds and then you have to walk away. You don't get to keep messing around in the bed, but that will lead you to a really beautiful scene. So I hope that you're inspired. I totally don't have time to go through my entire containers program unless you want to spend more time with me. But you can watch episodes from my garden, or really any of the episodes from our 11 seasons of Growing a Greener World at ggwtv.com. Or you can go to that website and type in your zip code, and it will tell you when it airs, like which PBS channel and what time and what day. But there's so much great garden educational information through the Growing Greener World website. And you can visit my website, Brie Grows. If you want to sign up for my monthly newsletter, you can do that. It's on the bottom of my homepage. I promise you won't get more than a monthly newsletter, because it takes a lot of effort just to do that one thing. Honestly, don't know how some of these places are spamming me with email every day, because gosh, it takes a lot of effort to actually coordinate a newsletter. So I promise you won't get anything from me more than once a month. First Friday of the month, that's it. And I hope you'll keep in touch. I'm on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and that's my website. My email is just brie@briegrows.com, so I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. And there's that, that's my favorite garland. That's the emerald lace garland that we make at Weston Farms. That it just looks so good. Like you can even hang that on a door, but it goes on to banisters and anything. And if you want to see more of that, I highly recommend that if you're on Instagram, follow Weston Farms Instagram. You will be amazed. We sent a nearly $30,000 order the week after Thanksgiving to Charleston, South Carolina. And those houses in the Battery are just decked out with all of this gorgeous magnolia. And I'm super proud because I made almost all of it. So I feel like very connected. I wish that it would be safe to take a road trip and go visit it all, but I'm relying on seeing pictures on Instagram this year. But it's a very inspiring Instagram to follow. And Erin is a really cool lady. And maybe you guys could have her do, she actually sells kits that you could make yourself. And she's like really stoked to try and do something for Valentine's Day because that's also her birthday. So if you guys are looking for something to do in February, you could have Erin do a virtual event with you guys. It would be really fun. I would be there to help. So, and I mean, you can tell me if you want to hang out longer because I actually have like a whole second presentation, or we could wait and I would be happy to come in and do a talk with you guys more in like February, March, April, if you want to talk more about other things. I didn't see. Okay, I see a question. Sorry, I didn't see your questions. No, it's not chicken wire. So the wire that we use, I should have taken a picture of it. It's a really thick gauge wire. Like you can barely move it with your hands. So we use this hammer clamp that is foot powered. That's what actually bends the form and holds everything really tightly. And we actually also rubber band all of the bouquets onto the frame. So if they dry and shrink, they still won't slip out. That's what makes them really secure. Chicken wire, I find chicken wire is really difficult to work with and it kind of like hurts your hands. So I don't do much with chicken wire. I have been known to zip tie arrangements onto cattle fence panels. And I've made homemade garlands that way by cutting cattle fence, which you can buy at Tractor Supply, and then just zip tying greens onto it. And it gives the illusion, of a garland. But that's not what Erin uses. Erin uses like real supplies like what a professional florist would use that are really sturdy and long lasting. Sometimes the home stuff, it's fine, especially for a tiny bit of time, but if you want something that's really sturdy and it's going to hold up to the elements, I recommend buying it because, if it doesn't hold up, you can call and get your money back or get a replacement. Happily, we actually haven't had any, this year, we haven't had anybody say that, like, no one has complained that their wreaths have fallen apart. So that always feels like a huge success. Like that, I mean, like, how do you measure success, right? It's like very few complaints. In fact, the only complaints that have come in have been when we've been like a day late on shipping. And they're like, that means that I'm not going to get to enjoy it as long as I would have because, we were overwhelmed because of COVID. There's only 3 of us making everything because Erin won't let more people in the workshop and we're all spaced like 10 feet apart and she makes us wear masks the whole time, which I didn't realize how much it hurts your ears to wear a mask for 10 or 12 hours a day, but it really does hurt. So yeah, our only complaints this year have been people who are like, but I wanted it yesterday. And I've had to say a few times now, remember, your wreath isn't a COVID vaccine. So get perspective here. Like, I know you want it and we're trying our hardest. There's no guarantee.
Is there anybody who has any other questions? Unmute yourself if you do.
Hey, Brie, it's Lily. I want to know, do the deer go after the poppies the way they go after other things?
Not at all. So, the poppies actually have a carcinogen in them. So the poppies and larkspur combined, both of which you would be sowing right now. Like I usually say between Thanksgiving and Christmas is the best time to sow those things. They're both poisonous. So the animals, none of the animals, the deer, rabbits, groundhogs, everybody leaves those things alone, which is a huge help.
And you really do just open the seed package and dump it on the.
Scatter it on the surface.
On the
Yeah. Do
surface.
not like what you want to do, like all the work for growing poppies is ahead of time. So you want to prep your bed, put down some compost to make sure that the seed is going to have good contact with soil.
Right.
So if you have like a lot of mulch, either rake the mulch away, or what I do, I just put compost on top of my mulch and then I sow the seeds.
Okay.
And that mulch eventually breaks down. You don't have to waste the mulch, but you can't remulch after you've sown the poppies. So I don't usually mulch again until March when the poppies are well established, and then I can kind of mulch in between them. I just do it really lightly. Like I started to paint with mulch now. So we went from using 60 yards of mulch annually to 6 yards. And that's just because I just use a very little amount. The mulch ends up being where voles like to live. And I have this crazy vole population. So I'm trying to make it so the voles don't have as much space to be able to maneuver and eat the roots of everything.
Right.
And that's my extension agent recommended, cut down on your mulch because that's really where they like to burrow.
Good to know. Thank you.
Anyone else?
That way I can see you.
Okay, I'm going to thank you, Brie. It was a pleasure having you. I hope we'll get to have you in person in the not too distant future.
I hope so too. Oh my goodness. Maybe even if indoor stuff, we could always come up with a fun, like outdoor spaced workshop activity. So like, let's think creatively,
Sounds great. I'll have Lily
I
get
will
in
be
touch with you regarding that.
Absolutely.
And to the rest of you, I hope you all have a wonderful holiday. And we have a program coming up in January that I'll get some information to you about. Lily is going to not only provide the speakers, she's going to co-produce. So that'll be an exciting event,
It
as
should
all
be
of
fun.
these Zoom things tend to be. But I wish you all a very happy and safe holidays, and that I hope we get together again in 2021 and that you all stay safe and well. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye. Happy
Thanks for having
holidays.
me.